Please welcome Chris Hall.
All right, good. Thank you. Believe me, a 15-minute keynote, guys. 15, 1-5, so I'll keep it as brief as possible. I hope to inspire. I hope not to confuse. I will promise to the best of my knowledge, hopefully have a little bit of fun as we go through this. But a little bit of personal background. I know my first knowledge base when I was in tech support was DOS Edit, right? I get frustrated as a young agent on the phone that every time I didn't know the answer, back in my day, a good 25 years ago, I had to walk up in line to the answer desk. And I had to ask my question. Why did the answer desk person always know the answer in their big auto parts book, but I didn't? Found out pretty quickly that most of the information at Tier 2 was in QA, but that wasn't available to agents on the phone. Well, you can tell by a frustrated person's voice, that wasn't going to cut it for me very long. So I said, why don't I find out from QA, get me the SPR reports, put it in a text file, and I'll use DOS Edit to search it. My butt was in my seat forever, and it probably shows from the standpoint of me not getting much exercise, but that was my first knowledge base. And then it became Scopus, it became Inference. I'm talking early stuff. Even Lotus Notes is knowledge base. So I'm kind of showing my age here a little bit. But I want to share showing age here a little bit for how many people have been in this industry for at least 10 years. Raise your hand. So, yeah, you can't get out of it. Now let's go 20 years. Raise your hand. This is going to be a fun presentation. More than 20 years. Raise your hand. Excellent. Excellent. So, first slide begs the question for me. After decades of technology innovation, why is good help still hard to find? Why is it I have everyone coming up to our booth saying, we've got Confluence, we've got SharePoint, but I still can't find my information. Do you have a better search engine? So that question still exists after more than 20 years of innovation in this space. So let's take a little walk down history lane here. How do we get there? In the early 80s, and I apologize, my speech is probably going to not be a one-size-fits-all. I come from the customer service arena in tech support. It has a lot of implications in many other industries, so please use your collective imaginations to kind of come along this ride with me. But when I looked back in the 1980s, it was information-based KM. It was case-based reasoning. It was knowledge-based tools. What was the issue back then? The issue back then was search accuracy. If search accuracy isn't there, you don't get adoption. If you don't get adoption, you don't get reuse. You don't get reuse, you don't get additional stuff in the knowledge base. So at the end of the day, it fails. Let's go to the next generation, what I call multi-channel KM. Multi-channel KM could very much be multi-departmental KM. Everyone has their own tool. Email has their tool. Phone center has their tool. Legal has their tool. Everyone has their tool. What do we have? Silos of information. Do we have one source of truth to the consumer? No. Whether your consumer is an employee or whether it's an end customer, not one source of truth. On top of that, could you imagine on the administration side trying to administrate at least 5 different systems in one language? How about 5 different systems in 12 languages? Forget about it. It's impossible. What's the next generation? I call social KM. Really cool stuff around social KM because I think as we service or support KM professionals get on in our years, we kind of look for generational changes. What's going to change the gap? It used to be technology. Let's go from client-server to network. Let's go to SaaS technologies. But there are generational things that totally shift today, too. What's refreshing to see is most of the people in the room are either looking at me or looking at each other. But I guarantee you, we go home tonight to our kids, everyone's going to be looking at their BlackBerry or their phone, right? And everyone's going to be entering information. What is the insanity around sharing information in the social generation is something we have to understand very rapidly, because I think there's an asset there. But what happens with social? More big data. Information that's shared conversationally, but it doesn't exist after that. As an example, if any of us today had a problem with their iPhone or a problem with something that they need on a general basis, you probably go to Google, and you'll probably end up on a discussion thread. And in that discussion thread, the first thing you see is some ticked-off guy called Henry Grumpy Guy 101 saying, this has already been answered before, go to this thread. 5 threads later, you might get your idea, but you're not sure if it works, okay? Social KM, okay? But there's good things about that. So what do we see there? We see big data, lots of data all over the place, and a variety of clutter. And there's some fantastic tools such as federated search to help organize some of that chaos. But I'm here to talk about the next generation that's already available to you today, and what I call cognitive KM. Interactive computing systems that use artificial intelligence to really simplify, collect, and automate, and build models of understanding to intelligently engage with customers. We want to take the search out of search. We want to proactively deliver knowledge so that the answer practically finds you. You shouldn't have to find that. So, in a lot of conversations we're having at the booth, the hard part is the one-size-fits-all question. And the hard side is where does cognitive technologies fit in? And what is cognitive technologies doing? And it sounds like it's pixie dust, but we don't think it's actually real. And if I go to certain vendors' website, I get a lot of great marketing, but I get no substance underneath what it's actually tangibly doing. Let me take you on a little journey of Transversal's interesting view on how I would segregate the two situations. One is, let's talk about getting knowledge and receiving and delivering knowledge on the discovery and delivery side. The real question is, are you adopting big data? Do you need big data? Do you have multiple sources and always will have multiple sources, and it's going to be chaotic and there's no way I can bring it into play? We would highly question if cognitive technology can be the right answer there, because it's very difficult to do it on a single data source. Multiple data sources at the level of intelligence to predict and learn what you're doing in multiple data sources and multiple types of data sources is extremely difficult. It's not improbable or impossible. The question I would have for you, and the things that we're seeing from our clients that have tried this, are saying, I can't implement it in a commercially available time that I can actually receive a return on investment. And it's going to take me over a year to the point where this thing learns to get as accurate as this keyword search. So we question whether cognitive technologies is ready for big data. We're not there. Enterprise search is an okay solution, a little bit more manual, but federated search is the right solution in this particular case. And there are great technologies today that can yield the commercial viability of what you need to do in that area. But if you look at finite data, if you do have the opportunity to have a single source of information, cognitive technologies excels. Cognitive technologies takes all the mystification behind having to do taxonomies, having to do classifications. It does all of that. Even on top of that, it not only answers your first question, can predict the next 3 questions you have behind it. It's really the next generation of really delivery and discovery on the knowledge side. Enterprise search, I would say, is okay. It's a little bit more research intensive, but federated search I'd question. You don't need to federate one source, it's already there. So it's probably an overkill type technology. Again, that's on the delivery and the discovery side. Now let's look on the sharing and curation. And I'm going to talk a little bit about, not talk about any more about cognitive technologies, because there's not a lot of cognitive happening there, but there's opportunity. Let's talk about first complex information. Policies, procedures, documents, big engineering schema. If people are asking you complex information, document content management is still going to be the right way to go. What particular tool you use, whether it's wiki, whether it's collaborative, your choice, but still the best way to go. A knowledge base, okay, not the best. Social technologies, only to communicate, but not to share information or create complex information. However, everyday information, HR questions, retail questions on consumer questions, even trainee questions on getting agents up to speed or staff up to speed, everyday type of questions that aren't complex. I have a question, here's the answer, it happens over and over again. Content and document management, good God. No, that's why you come up to our booth every day saying I have SharePoint and Confluence and I can't find my stuff. It's not meant to give you answers, it's meant to store your documents. Good luck finding it when you're done. Then you got to parse what part of the document is the answer you want. I'm just going to ask Jim. I'm going to ask Amy, because they know. And I'm going to ask her on social, I'm going to ask her on Chatter, and then I have an answer, but no one else can leverage that going forward. A knowledge base, good technology, but social is really going to explode in this particular area. So when we look at it, as both a vendor and as a marketer, we really think the future of technologies in our space. Again, it's not a one-size-fits-all. This might not fit oil, gas, and water. This might not fit other industries. But again, ride the storm with me here a little bit. We believe the emerging two technologies, sorry about the Reese's Peanut Butter Cup, I know you're all eating, so I'm kind of precluding dessert here a little bit, but we believe these two coming together. Cognitive technologies with intelligent understanding, automatic clustering, on the findability and delivery side, making it so simple to find it almost comes to you, with the insane capability of people being compelled to share information. I did a webinar a couple weeks ago. I don't mean to diss the person if he's in the room, but I know it wasn't a KM event. It was a technology services event. And he said, Chris, I really get people sharing information on Facebook and Twitter personally. But in my 15 years of work, I'm not about to share my intellectual property with my fellow colleagues. And I so wanted, it was a webinar, I'm getting it in text, and I'm like, I so wanted to answer that question. But I was trying to think, how do I do it without being rude? Because that's the guy I never want to work with. Never, ever do I want to work with that. I don't want to work in an environment where my peers won't share their information. You know, I talked to my son today who's in a contact center saying, oh my God, I can't get it fast enough. So, you know, a lot of generational stuff is changing. We think social technology is the perfect combination of the two. Okay, now a little bit about us, but quickly, not too long. What do we do differently? We leverage cognitive technologies that enable people and machines to interact more naturally to extend the human experience. Really great, fluffy marketing words. What does that mean? For consumers, in a web self-service environment for consumers, they go to Google. They don't go to your corporate website and traverse to figure out where the knowledge base is. They go to Google. I know Apple's got a fantastic knowledge base and a fantastic discussion thread, but I go to Google and I figure out what I want. If knowledge-based vendors know your customers are going to Google, knowledge-based vendors should make sure when knowledge is stored in your system, it's SEO friendly, it's SEO crawlable, so that when your top questions that come into your contact center are asked on Google, it renders at the top. It drives them to your website. In the UK, a simple question, where's my nearest ATM, is driving 35% more traffic to the Barclays website. 35% more traffic. There's marketers in the room. Good, that's awesome. That's a marketing campaign you didn't know coming. But you want to drive them to your knowledge. You want to drive them to the source, the corporate source from that standpoint. For support staff, we don't want support staff clicking on a tab and searching for knowledge. If you're entering in a complaint from an HR perspective, if you're entering in a service ticket, a trouble ticket, why not take the darn information you're filling in and give the answer to the rep right off the bat, as fast as you possibly can? And why don't you predict for the rep the next 3 questions the customers are going to ask? That's cognitive technology, is making it a lot easier. If you make it that simple for agents, will they use it? Tier 2, maybe not. Tier 1, every day. And they'll get faster and more productive and efficient at their job. For employees, we're down to the level of, let's say, Starbucks, for example. The average person at Starbucks that works at Starbucks that has employee questions doesn't have a laptop. But there are more smartphones on the planet today than there are human beings. Everyone has that. So we're bringing our technology right to a smartphone in some really great ways to the point where we're making more productive and more smarter. That's what we do at Transversal. Now, take a little journey with me to imagine the possibilities of what you could really do with cognitive KM. Imagine a self-help technology that understands what people are going to ask before they finish asking it. Imagine a technology, a knowledge everywhere technology where we no longer have to search for answers. The answers practically find us. Imagine a contact center or front office staff technology that delivers intelligence to front office workers without a single mouse click. Imagine a social technology that can forecast potential business disruptions before they surface into real problems. At Transversal, we call this technology prescience. It's mispronounced like you wouldn't believe. Prescience, prescience, worst marketing mistake ever. But if you Google the terminology, it's giving you foresight of events before they occur. So that's what we want to do with our knowledge technology. It's our platform for next generation to really help connect people to answers. Our 3 goals with our technology platform is to understand, truly understand. No 2 people ask the question the same way. We should interpret that the same, in different languages, in different dialects, in different industries. Nobody asks questions the same way. We should know that. We should anticipate you're not going to ask one question. We should anticipate you want the answer when you're filling out a form and deliver that for you. We should anticipate you're going to start with Google and make it easier for you. And then has to get improved. If I have no way of managing the system, how can we help self-improve a lot of the stuff there? How can we help auto-classify, auto-link content? Here's our kind of prescient, a sample of our prescient stack lineup, all the services that we have on our platform. And I'm just going to give you 3 one-slide examples and let you go and eat, because I don't hear any clicking anymore. So it either means you're enjoying the presentation or you're full on your iPods or iPads or iPhones. OK, first one. It starts with search. Even though when we demo most of the time, we don't try to show search. We try to make search happen. Let's start off at Google. Use Siri. It just goes to your website. You don't have to search again. It makes the whole experience alive. As an example, like I said earlier, look at the 3 things, if you can read them, and I apologize. On BBC's website, I could say, can I access in America? So iPlayer is kind of like catch-up service for TV. Not catch up the ketchup, but catching up to watch Game of Thrones or any other thing that you want to watch from that standpoint. And in Europe, you're traveling to different countries all the time. So I want to know, can I access it in France? Can I access it from here? But access in America is one way of asking that question. Watch programs on vacation. Access movies on holiday. I know when I was an agent on the phone, I basically said whatever the customer said and I searched for it, right? You guarantee I'm going to get 7 different results with one question coming from a customer. We interpret that. We know what people mean, not what they type, through behavior and through language. Powerful search accuracy, full semantic understanding, more effective. Now, you can achieve that today, and I don't mean to take a lot of tireless work away. You can achieve that today by doing synonyms, right? This word means that word means this word, this phrase means that. That's a lot of work if you get 2,000 knowledge base entries. How about 20,000? And how about when they go obsolete, you got to redo that work all over again? 0 administration effort to have this type of technology. And it learns through experience, so it gets better over time as it kind of understands the environment and how things have changed, because many environments are cyclical. Christmas time comes out, different types of questions come in. Tax time comes up, different types of questions. Second one is smart links. It demos kind of simplistically, because at the end of the day, it's kind of like other people that bought this also want to buy this. We take that same mentality to customer service, and we say, here are additional questions that you're probably going to ask. Most vendors in the market today do that as well. But what that means for you is you go into the back-end system, you put in one knowledge base card, you link it to all the other ones, and you kind of manually kind of rank it. That's not fun. We're doing it for free. Cognitive technologies will deliver that type of technology for free and get better through use. Just as you know, dynamic, frequently asked questions get better with use, so does this. Last one's kind of a new product of ours. It doesn't fit a lot of industries, but it goes to our commitment of improving. We're asked many times by, and when I was in the knowledge world, like you guys, if you're an administrator, how do I know what I need to know next? Yeah, I mostly get from the agents or from my staff what they think are good knowledge, but how do I get out in front of that, right? So similar to a Radian 6 that does social media monitoring for corporate levels so that you can find the aha moments and make sure that executives aren't, and you have a task team in front of that, we're leveraging the same auto-classification to say, just tell us what you want to point at, your Twitter site, your Facebook site, an aggregator, or my search site. And let me know when certain categories get to a level I should look at and give you an alert. If you're in the telecommunications business, you ship out a firmware and it breaks everyone's phone, guess what's happening? Everyone's coming immediately. I think in the UK for T-Mobile, that was $70,000 per mistake incident that went out for outsourcing and offshoring, just to kind of put the tsunami of customer calls coming back in. This product here, point it. It'll auto-classify. All you got to tell is what levels of noise that you want an email. It gives you what I consider unprecedented insight. I call it Chicken Little at some point. Sky's falling, here it's coming. But you kind of want to know that. You want to know that before it even gets to the PR team. It's going to get to the executive management team. It would be really nice if you were in an executive meeting to say, hey, we get this real firmware issue. I'm like, I know, we already got it. We already have knowledge about it. The contact center knows. The website's already updated. We have push out emails. That's the kind of insight we need. And with that, I thank you for your time.